It's 1971. I'm 6 years old and I'm living in Rockford, Illinois. And my parents, who had grown up in Oklahoma, knew that one day, Missy, we're going to be rich. And in order to be rich, I'm going to have to act rich, says my mother. I'm like, okay, mommy. And so she says, the first thing I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to cook fancy. Yeah. And so she starts watching hours and hours of cooking shows on PBS, which I thought was really cool because I was watching Sesame Street. So it was like we were sharing the best channel ever. And she's watching this lady who talks really funny. She's like this. And her name is Julia Childs. And she watches her. And then she watches this galloping gourmet guy, and she's learning how to cut an onion properly and how to mince and how to make a bechamel. No, this is the best damn thing since a can of cream of mushroom soup. Not as easy, though. And she's getting real fancy. Then one day she says, Missy, I'm going to make a cheese souffle. I'm like, okay, mommy. I don't know what that means, but okay. And she gets to work. She goes out and she gets all the eggs, and she's got the grater, the silver triangular grater, and she's grating the Velveeta cheese because, you know, this is the Midwest. This is what we eat. And she's got eggs and she's cracking them and she's separating them out. And then she's got to beat them. She's got to beat them. She's like, oh my goodness, this is the only time I think I ever saw my mother work out. And she's just beating the crap out of these eggs, and she's got to get them really foamy. Got to get them foamy. And now she has everything in place, and it's time to fold the egg whites into the batter. I know what folding is. That's just stir real slow with a flip. So she starts to stir real slow with a flip, and she gets it all perfect. And now she's got to put it in her white Corningware, which was really great because that was the best top of the line stuff back in the 70s. And she carefully puts the batter into the oleo greased Corningware and puts it into a 375-degree oven that is olive green. And she puts the batter in and carefully shuts the olive green door and stares at the timer. Can't open the door. It's screwed up. So she stands there the whole time staring at her cheese souffle and taps her fingers on the orange Formica counters as she waits. Now, me and my sisters, Sheila and Katie, and my father sitting at the common kitchen table just waiting for this thing to bake. And we're kind of nervous, to be honest. And we're not saying too much because we don't really have a lot to say to each other. I mean, Sheila's 17 years old. And to my 1950s parents, they don't know what to do with this little flower child. I don't know. I don't know. What's she upset about with Vietnam? And then Katie, she's 12 or 13 years old, and she just wants to draw all day. And she's a really good drawer. And I'm just 6, and I just want to catch lightning bugs and play on my swing set. But I don't understand why we're not in the fancy room. This is a fancy meal. And when we go into the fancy room, Mother brings out all her china and the pretty crystal. And there's so many forks and knives and spoons. And then that one little spoon, always at the top. Did you get in a fight with everybody? I'll make a story up, and I'll make that spoon come back and be friends with everybody. Well, we're not going to be in this fancy room, I guess, because Mother was busy. So we sat at the common table. And then suddenly, ding! Here it is. She puts on her gloves, carefully opens up the olive green door, and I can see from my table chair, oh, what is that? And she pulls it out, and I look at it, and I'm like, it looks like the Chef Boyardee hat's coming out of the Corningware. And it looks like an octopus is eating too much cheese popcorn. And then it swallowed the Goodyear blimp at once. And as she's pulling it out, it's wiggling. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's breathing. Oh, and she puts it down on the table and it continues to wiggle. And I'm terrified. But my sisters and my dad, they all know what to do. It's like, oh, Mother, it's so great. Oh, yes, Mother. Thank you so much for making something vegetarian for me. And my father's just proud of his little lady. I'm terrified. My mother grabs the 2 spoons. You're supposed to get it vertically. And she dives in and it deflates like it's dying. And she puts it on my plate and it slips over to me. And I don't want to do this. And Sheila and Katie and Daddy, They all start taking their bites like, oh, it's just delicious. And I'm thinking it just smells like cheese and a wet dog, but I can't say that. So I take a bite. I grab my little fork, put it in my mouth. Oh, it's all foamy and milky. I can't show her how I feel, so I just like, I go wash my hands. And I go into the bathroom and I'm like, oh, ugh, ugh. I start drinking water out like a cat out of the faucet. I'm like, ah, icky. How am I going to get through this meal? When the big idea comes through, bread. Bread? Okay, I have a plan. So I go back out, I sit down at the table, and now it's okay because they're all talking, actually. They're talking about like middle school and high school stuff and football games. And I say, may I please have the Wonder Bread? And it's stacked up on a plate and they hand it over to me. And can I have the margarine, please? And they hand me that and I just start buttering up my Wonder Bread. And while they're talking, I just take a little bite of my cheese souffle and I take a bite of the bread. And I just put it underneath my plate. And I'm 6 years old and I'm learning how to tell time, and that is 3 o'clock. And I have one at 3 o'clock and I have a little bite under 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. I got this thing going all the way to 9 o'clock. I am working. This is working. This is great. And then the meal ends. And Sheila and Katie get up and they take their plates over to the olive green dishwasher, which matches everything. And they go upstairs to do homework. And my father, he does something very unusual. He gets up and I'm like, wait, no, my plan is I'm going to pick up my little plastic Mickey Mouse placemat and I'm going to take my plate and I'm going to put it in the garbage and he won't know. But why is he getting up? Oh my God, why is he coming over here? He always just goes and gets his peppermint ice cream. And then he watches football with, oh. And he lifts up my plate and he sees my little cheese souffle monsters lying there, terrified. He's like, might have been a little fancy for you. I'm like, And then my mother comes up from behind and she sees it. She goes, oh! And they're the little cheese souffle monsters. They die. They're absolutely terrified. And I think, oh, she goes, Missy, I worked really hard on that. I'm like, I know. But come on, Mommy, this is really fancy. I mean, fancy to me is like mixing Cocoa Puffs with peanut butter crunch or macaroni and cheese with sliced hot dogs. That's fancy. Or, you know, it's really fancy, a chocolate and vanilla swirl ice cream cone from Dairy Queen. When you dip it in the chocolate with the nuts and the jemmies, that's really fancy. I just didn't like it. It's icky. Icky. All right, just go into the family room with your father. I'm like, sorry. I get out. Next day, there's no family dinner that night. I think my mother was a little frustrated by it. She's like, well, I'm not going to do it if we're not going to appreciate it. Screw it. And so I'm in the family room by myself with my TV dinner, my Swanson's TV dinner. It's the Salisbury steak, the hamburger with the tomato paste smeared on top, the salty green beans, the glistening corn that I'm never going to eat, and that little tin, that little corner tin with the brownie, with the chocolate it's burnt on the outside and it's chewy on the middle, just like I love it. And as I'm watching my Brady Bunch, I'm thinking, now this is fancy. Thank you.